back to Channel's Business Global with me, Juliana Oladipo, from our studios here in London. Now, 3 years after the British public voted to leave their historic relationship with the European Union, it seems as if Brexit may become a reality. This will see Britain leaving the single market and the customs union, ending free movement in the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice, leaving the common agricultural policy and the common fisheries policy. For those that are seeking a hard exit, Brexit means taking back control of British money, British laws and British borders. But does it? Joining us is Glenn Hodgson, the founder and CEO of Trade Europa, a think tank focused on European policy. Glenn Hodgson, welcome to Channel's Business Global. To say that Britain and the British public are kind of moving around in uncharted territory is an understatement, really, isn't it? We're kind of in a political coma, would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, this is very interesting times that we're living through, but also the unpredictability and the level that we're at the moment is something we've never seen before from a political, social and constitutional perspective. And I think the big question at the heart of this is still, what is the destination that we're looking for? What do the British politicians actually want? This is something that's had the leaders across Europe scratching their heads. What are we moving towards, and what are we looking towards? And the issues that have been happening, especially yesterday in Parliament and going on today, is basically not resolving anything. Basically, what we've got at the heart of the discussion is really kicking the can down the road. We've basically got, whether it's 31st of October, pushed back till January or beyond, we still don't have a clear plan for what's actually happening. This is the reason why what we're really looking towards is sleepwalking towards a cliff edge Brexit, apropos of anything else being put on the table.
It's interesting, Glenn, that you say, we don't really know what we're doing. I suppose most people across the world would agree with you, which is why I think Boris Johnson is very clear on his mandate to leave the Union on October the 31st. Can you understand why some people agree with him and say, yes, that's exactly what the UK need to do if they're going to adhere to the democratic process?
Absolutely, and I fully understand that. Basically, we've got to a situation now whereby, people are sick and tired of politicians playing games, banging on about Brexit, this thing that never really happened. It's been sort of several years down the line, and people actually want basically an end to it, be able to move on. The reality at the heart of this problem is the fact that even if we leave on the 31st of October, it's not the end. It's actually the beginning, because we have to actually be able to pick the UK from the European construct and the decades of laws and practices and policies that we've been part of. And then again, if we come to a situation whereby we leave with a no deal and refuse to pay, how do we actually sort of pick up those pieces and be able to produce a relationship for the future, look at trade deals, where there's not even a vision in place, there's not even a process in place for it to be able to move forward. So the big myth at the heart of what we're discussing here is that a clean break and a Brexit is quite the opposite. It's the start of a very hard, a very complex, and a very lengthy process to be able to shape the future relationship. Great terms.
Shortly after Boris Johnson prorogued Parliament last week, he said that actually helped with negotiations between Britain and the EU. What do you think the EU think of the UK? In particular, Boris Johnson. We saw the pictures from the G7. It did look quite jolly. And of course, he had those meetings with Angela Merkel in Berlin and Macron in Paris. Are we a laughing stock over there?
The big issue at the heart of this is the fact that the EU position is very clear, not changing. And whatever Boris Johnson or politicians say about unpicking and putting the view on the table, that's not going to happen. Let's be very realistic. The position is there. It's clear. It's either a no deal or it's what the table. There will not be opening up the box again. And I think that the discussions at the moment are basically undermining UK's position. It's undermining undermining the UK's credibility on the European and the global stage. And these threats to basically not pay the divorce bill, walk out, and throw your toys out of the pram is not helping. The relationship has become so deeply poisoned as we've moved forward that we're in a position now that we really need to sort of pick up the pieces and be able to try and create something in a very, very difficult way indeed.
What about those that say that it's Europe that actually needs Britain? You know, if you look around the world, Britain is still a very powerful economy. You can only really say the same for France and Germany. Of course, Britain does have her Commonwealth. They also have a very close relationship with the US, whether or not people like that relationship or not. Donald Trump has promised a very, very big trade deal. Do you think that Britain will be better or worse off out of the Union?
Yeah, and I think that to go to the first point there is blame on both sides. The UK have had a weak hand and played it badly, but also the European institutions, the European bureaucrats, are not without blame in this whole process. And the reality is that the UK has a lot to give the world in terms of trade. And kind of the sad piece here is that the UK should be leading on issues of opening up trade, opening up towards other parts of the world, particularly Africa, and having a true partnership agreement, leading on industrial policy, deepening and widening the European single market, looking to digital elements. And the fact is that these powers should really come from the UK to be able to set the agenda going forwards. And it's a real opportunity missed. That's doubly sad in that case. The UK is still a big economy. It's an important country, and we'll be able to sort of shape its future. But the problem is that, you know, they'll be a taker here. They will be in a very weak position. US, China, India to be able to shape these deals in the future. So this, again, this myth that they'll be able to go out and trade freely with the world, everyone will be banging down the door to organise trade deals and find things. Yes, but the UK will have to compromise and give in a great deal and open up. And this is the quandary which is part of UK policy at the moment, when the rhetoric is actually closing borders and being more strict, when the real discussion should be about opening borders and actually doing trade properly in an open and transparent way.
Glenn, you've been following this Brexit process, as we all have, sadly. You know, you can't avoid it. But what are your predictions? Some MPs, I've been watching the news constantly, still think there's a possibility of a second referendum, taking it back to the people. Of course, we could be in a general election very soon, and some are saying that there will be no Brexit whatsoever. What's your prediction?
My prediction is a rather pessimistic one on this. I am, originally a Remainer, and I think that this was a good thing for UK socially, economically, and also politically. But the reality is there has been the vote, and society in the UK has become even more polarised. And even if there was a second referendum, it would probably be around 50-50. Maybe it would be 48 against 52-4, or vice versa. But basically, we've come to a situation where the two blocks are hardened in their beliefs, and actually being able to get something that satisfies all parties, unfortunately, I think is very, very, very difficult. And the pessimist, unfortunately, in me says that we're going to move towards, we want it or not, the no-deal Brexit. I think this is what we're moving toward.
Oh, gosh. Well, Glenn Hodgson, you said that we'll have to come back to you again soon to see if you were right on that. Glenn Hodgson, the CEO of Free Trade Europa, thank you for joining us on Channel's Business Global. Well, sadly, that's all we have time for today, but do join us again at the same time next week for more in-depth business analysis on Channel's Business Global. Goodbye.